One of the holiday tips that I've already given you is to remind you to eat on the day of the holiday, to make sure you're eating small things throughout the day. And I'm going to explain to you the physiology of why that is important. Another aspect is making sure that you eat right before you go to eat, so you're just not as hungry when you get there. When I discuss this with my patients, I call this the gut lecture / CCK concept. So I'm not an artist, so don't make fun of me. But here's what I do is I say, here's your mouth and here's your rectum. Okay, so we're going to go through the anatomy of the esophagus. Here's the esophagus, your stomach. Then you got a very strong sphincter muscle right here called the pylorus. There's also one here that can close off like a sphincter muscle. Then you've got 44 feet of small intestine. Then you've got ascending transverse, descending colon, sigmoid colon to the rectum. From the back of your throat to the top of your rectum is 48 feet. It's incredibly amazing how long the intestinal tract is. It can be stretched across a parking lot. And every single inch of this is lined with muscle. It's more muscle than you have in both of your arms and chest combined, and it's called smooth muscle. It's a whole completely different kind of muscle. It has its own brain. It only works when it has to. So when you take somebody who only eats or doesn't eat all day long, like on a holiday, and then they eat a big giant bolus of food for Thanksgiving, they've got a big giant bolus of food here. Okay, well, it takes about 36 hours to go through, so they might have a bolus of food here and a bolus of food here. So the only areas that have to work are the areas around where the food is. So that might only be about 3 feet of the 48 feet. So the other 45 feet is doing nothing. Lights are out, everybody's gone home, factory's closed. So what if you were to have this person eat here, and then eat here, and then eat here, about every 3 hours? What you just did was you just actually turned on the whole factory, and they're making that entire smooth muscle work throughout the entire day. So this is kind of a visual way of showing people that if they actually eat through the day about every 2 to 3 hours, they're actually keeping a whole third muscle that we normally barely use active through the whole daytime. The next part of this is about eating right before or about 20 minutes before you go to eat. So there's an important concept is if you have, and this is a very important rule, if you have a minimum of about 60 calories of lean protein in your gut for about 20 minutes, a whole bunch of stuff starts to happen. The stomach lining senses that this protein is a brick, and it says, I got to work on this. So it sends out a hormone that we've known about for about 30 years called CCK. It's called cholecystokinin. So you don't need to remember that, but it's called CCK. What this does is this is a gastric hormone that communicates within the gut, and it tells this muscle and this muscle to close. So guess what gets trapped in the stomach? The protein. So it makes you feel fuller longer. It also tells this very strong, thick muscle wall of the stomach to start contracting, to start mechanically breaking down the protein. It also tells the stomach lining to start secreting hydrochloric acid, so it starts chemically breaking down the protein. CCK then also goes to the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas and says, hey guys, I need some help. I'm not going to be able to do this all by myself, so I need you guys to secrete all your enzymes and bile into the first turn of the duodenum. There's like a little jet nozzle here that spits out these enzymes as this muscle is released. Then it takes almost the entire 44 feet of small intestine before the protein's completely digested. So by actually having the protein in here, it actually gives you a sense of mechanical fullness, but it also is making the whole gut even work harder. So we've known this for about 30 years. What we didn't know until about just 3 years ago is CCK also goes to the brain. And it activates in the deep center part of the brain the satisfaction center. So it actually makes you more satisfied neurochemically as well as mechanically. So by the general rule being a 20-minute lag time with about 60 calories of lean protein before you go to the restaurant, before you go to eat, before you go to the party, before you go to the grocery store, but most importantly, you don't eat it at the grocery store, so it's when you get home. So right before you're getting ready to go from work or from home to a party or from work to home, make sure you eat something that's got at least 60 calories of lean protein. So that's the gut / CCK concept that I teach my patients.